Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. For those of you that I haven't met yet, I'm Amy King, Vice President of Client Success for our content and creators business here at Bazaarvoice. And I have the privilege of partnering with brands every day as they navigate growth, trust, and innovation at scale. One of my favorite parts of Summit is the chance to slow things down a bit and have real conversations, the kind that go beyond the buzzwords and get into how leaders are actually navigating change inside their organizations. We're in a moment where AI is moving incredibly fast. Expectations around authenticity have never been higher, and consumer trust, especially in categories like skin health, is everything. The brands that are winning aren't the ones that are chasing speed at all costs. They're the ones that are finding the right balance between innovation, responsibility, and humanity. And today's conversation is about exactly that balance: how to embrace what's possible with AI while protecting what matters most: trust, credibility, and real consumer outcomes. I'm especially excited about this conversation because it's not theoretical. It's grounded in decisions, real guardrails, and real leadership. And I get to have it with someone that I deeply respect, both professionally and personally. I am thrilled to welcome Charlotte Carter. Charlotte is the Senior Director and Head of US Media at Galderma Consumer Brands, overseeing powerhouse skin health brands like Cetaphil and Differin, brands that so many of us personally use and trust. And what I admire most about Charlotte is how thoughtfully she leads at the intersection of science, storytelling, and consumer trust. She brings a truly modern approach to media and marketing while operating under the rigor of a pharmaceutical level standard of care, which is no small feat. Beyond her impressive resume, Charlotte is a deeply strategic, values driven leader who asks the hard questions and sets incredibly clear guardrails for her teams. She's also someone who believes, as I do, that authenticity isn't a marketing tactic, it's a responsibility. Charlotte, I am so grateful for your partnership and for you being here today. And I can't think of a better voice to help us unpack what responsible innovation really looks like right now.
Thank you so much, Amy. I'm thrilled to be here with you. This is also an exciting intersection, both personally and professionally, for our audience today. Amy and I have intersected professionally, but we actually go back all the way to meeting for the very first time in college just a few handful of years ago.
That's right. We won't reveal any of those stories from the past. We'll
That's
leave
right.
those for another session, but it has been so much fun getting to share this time with you. So, with that, I can see it looks like we've got quite a few folks that are here already. So, let's go ahead and get this dialogue started. Charlotte, I know you and I have had a chance to talk, and we know that Cetaphil sits in such a unique position. You're a brand that people deeply trust, but you're also operating under Galderma's pharma level standards. And that's very different than most beauty brands.
Yeah.
When you think about adopting AI, how does that level of responsibility shape what's possible and what's not?
That is a great question. And it's one that we think about a lot through all media channels, but especially in UGC when we're relying on creators and their voices to talk about their experiences with our brands. We have to have that human level of checking on everything. And we can't rely just on AI to crawl content or do checks. And that is really different for skincare OTC brands in the beauty and skincare kind of mass category space. Of course, our brands, Cetaphil is celebrating 80 years next year. It's a stalwart of the industry. Trust is everything. And we're sold in Walmart and Target and Amazon alongside many, many other great brands. But we are owned by a pharma company that treats disease state and deals with pharmaceutical regulatory. And so when we are talking about our products, even in the OTC space, we have that level of pharmaceutical oversight and the burden of care to all of our patients and consumers and mass shoppers. And so whenever we're talking about our claims or product usage, first of all, we're clinically testing everything, not just consumer testing, which a lot of beauty brands do. We're clinically testing. I think we may have possibly the highest number of clinical studies of any skincare brand for sensitive skin specifically. And so we require that human lens. If we use AI to check content being done by hundreds of creators, like we partner with Bazaarvoice to do, then we still have to check them. If a creator says something about our product that is not actually defendable in our claims research, we actually can't allow that content to go live because the trust is just so important for us. It's really about claims and scientific accuracy. We never want to drift into off label territory. We never want someone to misuse a product or misunderstand an ingredient or think they're getting something. Oh, my friend told me this is going to have a hydrating effect, or this creator says she loves this product for makeup removal, or things like that. If we actually don't speak about that attribute of a brand. So, with that as the backdrop, from a practical application standpoint, it's so tempting to just move fast because everyone has a million things going on in their day. And all of a sudden, you've got 90 pieces of UGC content that has come in. You're really tempted to use agentic layers or use AI to check everything. But we really have to be intentional and we have to be careful. And we have to have that kind of authenticity and trust at the forefront so that whatever we're putting out there in the marketing landscape, whether it's our voice in an ad, whether it's our voice in an organic social post, or whether it's one of our partners through a UGC or an influencer relationship, that we are delivering truthful and real information to our patients and customers and potential customers.
I think that's so critical what you're talking about there. We can use AI to help us move faster, but you can't lose that human lens, like you're mentioning. With that shift and still having that human effect there, has it slowed you down or you know, has it made it even more intentional for you to identify maybe where AI can truly add value?
Yeah, I think the value comes in using AI in things that can either help you, like an emergency room. I mean, marketing,
Mhm,
often we're not saving lives, except for maybe in pharmaceuticals. Sometimes our
mhm,
brands are helping quality of life. But it's helping us prioritize perhaps, like maybe it's
mhm.
doing an initial review. Maybe it's helping us say, okay, these are the ones that maybe scored green, yellow, red in this hypothetical application, and we want to give those a human lens review. Maybe you can get some of those types of assets out the door while you're
For
spending
sure.
a little bit more time with an asset that needs a bit more revision or didn't quite hit the mark or said something wrong. So I think it's really useful as an agentic layer of speeding teams' processes and prioritizing and helping triage matters at hand, but it's not a replacement for that human lens of decision making on things that are important like this.
Absolutely. And we've talked a lot about authenticity and generative AI can really blur that line, especially in skin health. And where we know that you draw that hard boundary, and we just kind of touched on this, what are things that are completely off limits when it comes to your visual assets?
That's an easy question. No fake skin. You might use generative AI to swap out a blue background to a green background or do things like that. But we are always showing real people with real skin. Their skin is not crazy photoshopped in ads and things like that to begin with, but it's an absolute no for
Mhm.
AI. So if we're a skincare brand, we need to be showing you real skin on real people and not showing you any, generative images because that wouldn't really be authentic. It wouldn't be trustworthy. And that's on the, general skincare. We have acne brands like Differin, and we're not going to show you a model in a Differin ad that has perfectly clear skin. We're going to show you real people with real acne and their real before and afters and their journey. In fact, Bizarre Voice has been a great creator partner for us in finding people who actually have had an acne journey who would be able to partner with us along months and weeks of care and not just a, hey, I loved this cleanser type of asset. So we're also looking for that authenticity and storytelling there. And that's just not something that you can replace with AI.
Absolutely. In that briefing, as you're briefing creators for content such as that, you mentioned that we here at Bazaarvoice are helping partner with you alongside as you're finding and identifying creators. Have you found that creators or partners are surprised by how strict some of those pharma level standards are? Or do they actually appreciate the clarity?
That's probably two sides of one
Yeah.
coin for sure. I think it's really, really critical for us when we're working in casting and we're working in prospecting and we're finding those people who are going to be the right extension of our brand voice, who are going to speak to it well and who are going to appreciate that level of care. We've had to go back with some creators and say, hey, man, we've gone 3 rounds of revision with you. You're still not speaking correctly about our claims. I'm so sorry, we're not going to be able to go forward with this. And then we have to navigate, the paperwork and the contractual,
Sure.
components of the plan. But we're simply not going to push something live, that we can't get behind. And it does create some bottlenecks. Occasionally, I'd be lying if I said that it was a perfectly smooth process every time. But it's more important to stall a little bit of a campaign or a piece of content to make sure we're getting it right. And it's also affected the way we staff our teams internally as well to make sure that we've got people who are reviewing the content who are actually super familiar with our products and with our claims and not just people who are sitting in operational roles.
Yes, you touched on something that I know every brand here can relate to, bottlenecks. I think we all can relate to that. When you've got hundreds of creator assets that are waiting for review and everything slows down, with increased FTC enforcement around that consumer review and claims, how are you thinking about using AI to relieve that pressure without removing that human expert from the process? I know we touched on this a little bit at the start, but I think it'd be helpful for us to kind of dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's really about prioritization. I also think it's a great growth opportunity for more junior employees. And so I'll use examples. We have junior brand planners and people who work on our brand and product teams who maybe don't sit in the media team and they're working with their products every day. They maybe don't have as much experience reviewing content from like a media UGC perspective, but they know those products in and out. It's a great opportunity for their exposure to review those things and then escalate, through the channels, either through their managers or our team to say, okay, this looks good, that looks good. And it's a coaching and development opportunity for people because they know what good looks like because they're a consumer of social media and creators and influencers. It's not rocket science in that perspective because we're all familiar with the medium, but it allows us to look at that through a lens of prioritization. And that's something that I think AI will be really helpful with in the future to help those people either divide things up, you know, triage or color code, as I mentioned a minute ago, what is maybe going to require more senior level review or revision or problem solving versus something that is a little bit more straightforward for a developing employee. But I think it's a great opportunity for people growth for the future.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. And I too see it as a way that it helps us with prioritization. It helps us focus our time and energy where we need to focus time and energy. And it helps surface the things that, it's been hard to identify that needle in the haystack of what it is that you need to actually go and give further review. But being able to use AI as a helpful tool in that I think is also something that is critical, like you said, for prioritization. I think that is such an important note that you've made there. So thanks so much for also sharing too how you're thinking about it for your team
Yeah.
specifically.
Well, and saying like, okay, what are the immediate watch outs that we want to have those folks flag? Like, for example, when we
Mhm,
work with creators, like they can't put a filter on their
mhm.
face. They need to have an unfiltered aesthetic in the way that they produce content, regardless of what they're saying. We want to see the real thing. I think it's a little bit different if you're maybe an eyeshadow brand with a lot of glitter would be very different than someone who's working on protecting your skin barrier. And so the standard and the use case, I think, is really, really important here because A totally different company or category could have a lot more leeway with AI than other categories. And that's a really important distinction as people set up the processes for their own teams. They set up their own governance for how they want to use AI or not. They set up what they're comfortable with AI touching versus what they're not comfortable with AI touching. So I think a key takeaway I would have here is you have to determine what's right for your category and what's right for your brand values there.
Absolutely. I know that you also spend a lot of your time on the paid media side as well. And so, looking beyond content creation, how do you see AI helping you make smarter decisions about where content actually lives? So, across search or across social and commerce, instead of just optimizing in those different silos?
Yeah. Great question. So I sit across paid, owned, and earned. I've spent the bulk of my career actually in paid media, which has been a rapidly evolving space from the old days of TV, radio, and outdoor to digital to programmatic to I think there were 3 years there where we all thought it was finally going to be the year of mobile. And now we live in a mobile social first environment where, in many ways, that's our primary screen and TV and other canvases now become the secondary backdrop or the companion in the room, when you're leaning forward in another environment. And so when I think about optimizing across all of those different channels, we've moved from manual optimization to automated optimization. We're using smart layers, within any silo. So you've got your social team who is optimizing inside of Meta and TikTok and whatever else. Maybe they're looking at the Genius score and deciding what levers to pull. You've got a programmatic team who's sitting hands on keys in their trading platforms and they're deciding to toggle up this audience or that audience or this creative or that creative. And you've got your search team, who is sitting in a search console or within Google or whatnot, also making optimizations based on whatever your metrics are. Well, AI is starting to allow us now and kind of into the future. I think it varies by agency, by team, by vertical, to start to draw cross platform optimization insights. I think we're seeing the rapidity of optimization and the real time optimization happening inside of each platform or inside of each channel. But that layer that says, let's take search budgets down and social budgets up, or we're going to add to programmatic, but not to CTV or whatever that is still a manual conversation. And it does still require, as with everything, business insight and real, strategic thinking. AI frees up our time to then have that strategic focus. But it's going to be a lot more dynamic as we go forward. People are going to be able to optimize with predictive ROI outcomes across their various channels and not necessarily within each silo. And we're starting to look at that even within UGC to go, okay, which one is performing better? Give us a report on which one might be better to boost for paid media. Or do I have a set of assets that are performing really well with maybe a social first audience like Gen Z? Maybe I need to do some more amplification to an older skewing audience that this isn't their primary channel of consumption and I need to go reach them somewhere else. So I think it's going to speed our insights. I think AI we're going to use for crunching the numbers of optimization so that we can free our time to make more thoughtful decisions.
Charlotte, thank you truly. I mean, what I hope everyone walks away with today is a reminder that AI doesn't replace trust. It either strengthens it or it erodes it, and depending on how we use it. And that responsibility sits squarely with us as leaders. And I loved what you shared about not moving fast and breaking things, and about keeping humans in the loop, and about protecting real skin and real outcomes. Those principles apply far beyond skin health, and they're relevant to every brand that's represented in this room today. And at Bazaar Voice, we talk a lot about authenticity, transparency, and the power of real consumer voices. And conversations like this really just reinforce why that matters, and why pairing smart technology with the human judgment is really the only way forward. I know we still have, I think, maybe a handful of minutes remaining. I don't know if we've had any Q&A. It looks like we've got a few questions in the chat that maybe we could just address here in the next couple minutes before we wrap up. But it's looking like we're seeing some questions around utilizing AI to monitor answers for flagged words, or also if you guys answer all questions internally as a company, or if you have an option for how you address end user customers to answer your Q&As.
Yeah, sure. We have both humans and AI monitoring our social media. There are certain keywords that might trigger a series of responses because otherwise you would have an entire army of humans sitting there just answering. We get hundreds and hundreds of comments and DMs and things every single day. So, yes, it's a combination. I think that's probably the headline of today's chat is that it is a combination of the AI and tech enabled solutions along with human oversight to answer those. You know, it depends on the question. It's sort of like going through an automated phone tree, but ideally more enjoyable. If you're going to ask a question of the brand and that, let's say, community manager is on vacation, you don't want someone to get radio silence. You want to have tech enabled solutions that at least give that person some response. And you're able to either route them one place or another. If they have a very basic question, we might have an easy response that we can give them right away or direct them to a resource on our website or some other component of our content ecosystem. For example, we actually use AI to do a skin analysis. It's based on photographs. You use your own mobile phone and you can scan and it gives a surface level, but always with and you need a dermatologist appointment, to go farther than, maybe we see some redness or something like that that's more visually apparent. So it's a combination, always. I think there was another question in the chat similar to this about can you use AI to weed out the bad players and people who are misspeaking about products out there? Absolutely. I think AI is going to turbocharge social listening and allow brands to reach out to players out there that maybe are not information sensitively or carefully, and maybe there's an opportunity for proactive engagement and education, scientific education.
Charlotte, thank you for your leadership, for your partnership, and for setting such a strong example of what responsible innovation looks like in practice.